when was the first day I attended? The day when you decided this was the plan of code. Okay. So first day we had, I don't remember the date, but we had definitely day one, in which I kind of explained the software development life cycle, what is an application life cycle, so all that kind of stuff. So basically, but no worries, I know we have got a good gap, so I will be recap, basically explain what I've done in the day one, and then we'll, software wise nothing is started, so I'll be starting from the scratch, so there's nothing to worry. Cool. So welcome team, welcome for the HP ALM Live Training Day 2. As just now briefed, we had one orientation session followed by day one. Orientation session was all about what we're going to cover, what is the software, and very introduction level. Day one, yes, we had, we kind of talked about software development lifecycle, application lifecycle management, what are the different phases of application lifecycle management. Then I kind of touched upon different phases in which the software kind of like ALM kind of software will be used, and what are the different competitors for HP ALM, and just quickly kind of provided a view of the software, but nothing to worry. As I said, I will be going through in detail from today's session. So we have about 8 to 9 sessions which are of 90 minutes instead of 60 minutes, so please aware of that. The reason that I have 90 minutes is due to the constraint with the software expire. It's going to happen around 29th of this month. It's a 30-day trial version that I have installed. I'll take up any questions related to installations towards the end. If you have, some of you are already saying it, I will definitely give 10 to 15 minutes of time to answer all your questions. So that's why we have about 90-minute sessions for about 8 to 9. So please be focused on this to get the complete content of the HP ALM software. Some of you who have attended my quality center videos, or you have gone through the quality center videos, you might get little bit, you might feel that it's a bit of repetition, but it's up to you. How do you take it? Like, is it a this is 11.5.2 ALM software, not QC anymore. But people who are attending for the first time, you will definitely feel it's very detailed explanation for the software as such. Okay, any other questions before I proceed? It's 11.5.2 ALM. The latest one in the market is 12, and the reason for the 12, there's nothing much difference in 11.5.2 because this is what is used in real time. The 12 point, the reason the 12 point came into picture is that it's basically HP softwares work on mostly Windows softwares with Microsoft. So whenever Microsoft releases any new version of Windows, any new version of browsers, HP also have to make it compatible to work with them. So that's the idea behind having a 12 with a small change. Okay. Fine. So let's focus today more on the HP ALM software itself rather than focusing on general thing. Okay. So the purpose of this is like it is a product of HP, as we said, but some of you are still using the word QC. QC is the older version of Quality Center. So if anybody not attended the orientation and all, Quality Center is the older version of the same. And the latest version is called ALM, Application Lifecycle Management. So it is a product of HP. It is used for the complete application lifecycle management. So when I say application lifecycle management, right from like this is what I covered detailed in day 2. any application that you can think of, be it a product or a project or a Windows application, mobile application, whatever it is, it will go through different phases of its life cycle, from requirements phase to the implementation or deployment phase. And throughout all the phases, we will be preparing various documents, assets, we call them as assets. So maintaining all that is a big, you need a kind of central software in which you will be managing all that, and that happens through the HP ALM software. So we'll go through each of them in detail starting from today anyway. It has inbuilt defect tracking mechanism also. So part of your defect tracking management, or defect tracking or defect management. Part of any application, testing plays a major role, and the testers may identify various defects. So different companies use different defect tracking tools for managing them, like Bugzilla or Zira. There are different tools that will use it. So when you go with HP ALM, you do not require a separate defect tracking management tool. All that you can use is the HP ALM itself. It has its inbuilt defect tracking mechanism also. Because I've seen different companies using HPQC or ALM, and then there is a separate defect tracking tool. That could be the reason, because they have already been using it for a long time and they have not been migrated completely into ALM. That could be the reason. But otherwise, ALM has its own defect tracking mechanism, so you can use that directly. And it is a web-based application. Not only this, even the previous version of it, the quality center itself is a web-based application. Web-based, I would say, client-server application. So what does that mean is, you all know the web-based application can be accessed from anywhere. So your team, the team of people who work on the product, they might be in different locations. Somebody might be in US, working from US, somebody might be working in UK, somebody might be working from India. So they all need to closely connected to the central software for managing all the artifacts like requirements, test plan, test cases, automation scripts, defects, and then get to know the status on day-to-day basis. All that can happen through this web-based application, accessing from anywhere. And when I say client server, what does that mean is this software is available as a server-side software and client-side software. So they will identify one, probably their head office, where they'll have the server, and in the server they will install the server-side software, and all the users will install the client-side, very thin client version of the software on the client machines, and through which you will be able to connect to the server and then access it. But for training purpose or your personal use purpose, you will do all that on a single machine only. Because you will not maintain client 1 and server 1. So typically we do both installations on one machine. But in real time, server will be one and client will be all the people who will be accessing it. And since it is a web-based, you can access from anywhere. It provides high security to all the artifacts. So this is one of the important one, because we are talking about it's a web-based application. We're talking about all the project artifacts to be maintained. So definitely it requires high security for all the artifacts. So that happens through authentication and authorization, wherein generally when your site administrator creates a project, he will add certain people. Only those people can access the project. Not all the people can access in your company. That is basically authentication. So when you try to connect to the quality center itself, you have to provide your login ID and password for connecting it. That is one level of check. And the second level of check it has is authorization level. There are two different types of roles. One is called project administrator role and a normal guest role or a normal user role. So who has project administrator role, they can create all the artifacts. They can create requirements, they can create test plan, they can create test cases, all the artifacts. people who have normal access, they can only view the information. They cannot really create it. So if somebody, a fresher joined in your organization, you may initially start with a normal guest role or a normal user role. And once he gets experience, onboards into the project, then probably you will give him as a project administrator role. So that is how it will ensure the security for all the artifacts that you maintain. It's not that everybody can access, only authorized people can access. And the other one is like we can generate the reports and graphs just by click of a button. So we're going to maintain all of these artifacts in a very proper structured manner. So anytime if you need any details, for example, you may wanted certain things like, let me just make this more bad. You may wanted certain details like, for example, or your test lead may wanted to know certain details. My team has created about 1,000 test cases, but how many of them they have completed executing it? How many of them are still pending? So that kind of status check he can do it. Similarly, how many defects are found by the test team? How many of them are still in open stage? How many of them are closed? How many of them are getting reopened? That kind of checks the project manager can do. Suppose at individual level, you and me, for example, we can check on our status itself, like, okay, I created 5 bugs last week. What happened to those 5 defects? How many of them are closed? How many of them are still open? And how many of them are assigned back to me? So I can generate those reports and graphs on a day-to-day basis. That will give me the picture of what to work in the upcoming day or upcoming week based on the delivery model that you're working in. So, of course, the another one I can talk about is it can be integrated with Microsoft Excel. What you can do is generally people have a habit of writing all the test cases in the Excel first, get it reviewed, and then you wanted to take into the HP ALM. That is pretty much possible. So you have a separate Excel add-in that we will install, and once we have it, you can just by click of a button you can import all your test cases or requirements or defects from the Excel, and you can also export back into Excel, vice versa. You can do all that. So this is a little introduction about the software, and let's drill down more. The components, what are the different components of ALM software, and we will be starting with those components in 5 to 10 minutes from now. The different components of ALM, the first one is called ALM Site Administrator. ALM Site Administrator. Second one is the actual ALM software itself, the application management software itself. And in ALM, they have introduced one more component. People who have attended my quality center, probably they have seen only the 2 components that we had. There was Site Administrator and ALM Software. But here we have one more component called Lab Management Software. This is another module that they have introduced in ALM. So, but again, let me tell you, many of the people, frankly speaking, in real time, they're still not using the lab management. Probably we can glance through it. We can talk about what are the features available in it and all. The main purpose of lab management is like people who have daily bills, who wanted to have daily releases to the customer. So I don't know how many of you have heard this one called CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment. Let me just write down continuous integration, continuous deployment. So in some companies, rather I would say very few companies, they have this mechanism called CI/CD. What happens in this kind of companies is like from morning to 6 o'clock, let's say morning 9 o'clock to 6 o'clock, or let's say a little bit before 5:30, developers will complete the coding for certain feature, whatever they have to deliver to the customer. They will complete the code and they will check in the code. and around 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock rather, there is an automated build which will start. It will check out all the latest code from the source control system, then compile the code, and then build the software. So there is automated build mechanism. Automated, it's all automated. 6 o'clock, you can assume everybody left the office, then things will start automatically. So what happens? Until 6 o'clock, they write the code, they check in the code and go home. Around 7 o'clock, let's say automated build starts, which will automatically check out the code and compile the code and build the software. And if certain software needs to be installed on the server side and different servers, there is another automated process will start. It will take those latest builds that got deployed and then it will install it on the servers. Then after that, automatically there is a automation script, test automation script you have done probably if you have developed in UFD or Selenium or whatever it is. Around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, based on the scheduled time, the automation script will kick off and it will test the build, latest build, and then send out an email to the entire audience that today's build, let's say today's build is something like 1.001. This has been completed the testing and it is passed or failed or whatever the details it will send. So this whole process we call it as continuous integration, continuous deployment. Integration with your automation scripts and everything. Deployment is actually automatically deployment. So who have this kind of mechanism already in place, they can use this lab management feature to automatically kick off the builds from the ALM software and things like that. But a lot of people are targeting for CI/CD now. It's a very buzzword in the industry. But I don't know how many of them are really achieved. So people who have really achieved, they can use it. But anyway, I will be walking you through this in probably last but not one session. What is the lab management and how we can do that. Okay, so these are the three components that we have: ALM Site Administrator, ALM Software itself, and then lab management. So you as a test engineer, you will be working only majorly on the second component. Okay. And this is totally a different role. So let's look at that first one, ALM Site Administrator. So what happens in the companies, as I said just now, people buy the HP ALM software not just for one project because you will not get, it's not going to work out if you just buy for one or two projects because it's pretty costly software. But even then, all the big industries, like there are, even though there might be some freeware softwares available, why they go for HP ALM software? Because HP can, some of the big companies like Bank of America, or you can talk about the HP, of course HP is their own product, but you name any big companies, they don't want to take any chances with the free softwares that are available in the market because they never know when the support will stop for them, maintenance will stop for them. So they will go with only branded softwares, commercial softwares like HP ALM or Microsoft Test Manager or any other products that are available, because they will get the continuous 24/7 support for all the software that they're going to use. So once they buy the software, they never generally buy it for a single project or not even for two projects. There will be multiple projects, or for multiple domains rather, they will be buying the software. So when they buy it for such a big purpose, then who will be creating those projects, who will be creating those domains, and when a new employee joins, who will be adding that? So that is taken care by ALM Site Administrator role. So he is an exclusive administrator, like the way you find database administrator, like SQL DB administrator, Oracle DB administrator, or SAP administrator. Similarly, ALM administrator is one role that is available in the market, and those are the people who will be actually installing the software for us to use by us as part of the testing or development. But they are the one who will be taking care of the installations of the software, upgradations of, let me write down what are they going to do with it. So installing the ALM software is their job. Second thing is creating the domains is one thing. So today we are going to create, of course, Even though you're not going to work on this, I will be quickly going through this today by creating different domains, creating projects and all that. So creating the domains is their job. Creating the projects is their job. And then adding new users. Suppose if any new test engineer or a new developer or a new project manager joined in the company, adding it to the corresponding project. So adding new users, of course, and assigning password for that user is the job of the administrator. Then adding users to the projects. Sometimes you may be working on single project, you may be working on multiple projects, vice versa. Multiple people will be working on multiple projects, so adding users to the different projects. Then upgrading the ALM software. Suppose a new version comes in the market. Let's say they are using 11.0, they wanted to upgrade to 11.5.2 or to 12.0 is the job of the ALM administrator job. So upgrading the ALM software. Then configuring the sites. So it's all through websites. So which URL should be used by which component. In a minute you will come to know all those URLs and everything. So which URL should be used by which component. So configuring those websites is one thing. Sometimes it might happen that you will import the data from a non-ALM software to ALM software, or one version of ALM software to another version of ALM software. All those things will happen. Suppose until now you might be using a different tool. Now you wanted to go with ALM software, but you already have your bugs and everything in different let's say you are using Bugzilla until now. Now importing all the data from that Bugzilla into an Excel, exporting it from the Bugzilla to an Excel, importing from that Excel to your software. Of course, that's what we do. But in the sense, if it is only bugs, one of you will be doing it. But if the entire project itself needs to be migrated from one another ALM software to another ALM software or version, then he will be doing it. So basically, configuring the websites is one thing. Importing projects from another QC or ALM, that is his job. Then checking the licenses. So when is the license going to expire, renewing the license with HP for any technical, and he will be supporting the technical issues faced in engineering team. Suppose you face any problem, right? So let's say you're trying to access the quality center software and you have some problem. So to whom you will be contacting is the ALM site administrator. So actually speaking, you're not going to do anything here, but I will be still going through them today. Then I will create a couple of domains, couple of projects, I'll add new users and things like that. You as a test engineer, you will be working only in the second component wherein you will create the test plan, test cases, releases, release cycles and all that. Okay. So any questions so far before I start with the ALM administrator practically how to create domain and all that? I just take about 2-3 questions and then we'll move ahead if you have anything. So quick pause for any questions. Team, are you with me? Can you hear me? Good. Any one of you? Okay, no questions so far. Okay, even that answers my thing, like, you know, that I'm connected with you guys, because I was worried. I was the only one talking. There was no questions for a very long time, so that's fine. Okay, so let me introduce to the ALM software itself, and then we'll go to ALM administrator. So the way you access is once you, as I told you, you will be doing all this in a server. So typically this is what is my software. This is my system. I have a Windows Server 2008 R2 Enterprise, the server itself. and then within that I have installed the software, the required ALM software. Once you do that, there is one component here. I don't know, can you all see that? I'm mouse overing it right now. Application Lifecycle Management started. So generally, if you right click, you will be able to see start and stop for this one. So if it is not running, you should start it. Then only you will be able to connect it to it. So once you install that, and once you started your application, so again, who will be starting this application lifecycle? Your administrator will be doing that. It is on the server side, not on your client side actually. So he needs to continuously running this on the server side, then only people will be able to do it. I'm not able to see the screen details. Are you sharing the screen? Yes. Is it the case with everyone or only Rajeshwari? Hope you all can see my screen. I'm currently showing the notepad and okay. Yes. I cannot see also. Okay. Can you guys just re-log in quickly? Okay. Most of the people can see, only one or two people. Probably you can just log out and log in. That will help quickly. Okay. Yeah, I see the notepad. That's correct. Okay. So what I was saying is this needs to be started on the server by administrator, and then everybody is good to access the ALM software. So let me go to ALM URL. Can you all see this is the URL that I need to access? So I have something like so the URL is something like this: HTTP. Typically in real time it will be HTTPS. And okay, cool. So typically in real time HTTPS will be there, and this will be your server name. So as I said, the software is available as client server software. So what do you mean by installed on server? How does one can access that? No, you cannot access that. Only administrator can access that. Your site administrator can access the server, and then you need to start this one. But for you to practice, and if you want to, again, so I'll just spend about last 10 minutes totally on the installation. I'm sure everybody will have a lot of questions on that. I will be talking about this one, but just quick answer for this is, what do you mean by installed on server? Yes, you will have client and server for this software, as I was talking about. There are a lot of components that you need to install it on the server side, and you and me as an end user in the company, the test engineer, we will be working through a client software. So now, how do you access from the client? So from client, this is how you will access. You will have the HTTP or HTTPS. Here, you will give the server name. The server name in which your ALM software is installed, your administrator will tell you the name of the server. That server name you will put it, :8080 is the port number, /QC bin. Even though it shows quality center, it does not mean that it's quality center, because they have not changed this name when they changed it to ALM. Okay, this is the URL that you will access. So what I'm doing right now, I did the same thing here, HTTP ALM. I'll take up all installation questions in the last, if you guys don't mind, because it'll completely, I'll spend about a good amount of time. Okay, is that fine? Okay, so this is how you will be accessing it: HTTP :localhost, because this itself is my server, so I said localhost, port number /QC bin, and then you will see different options here. Like you have options like application lifecycle management. You have options like lab management, as I was talking about. This is a new component that being introduced. Then there is something called My Performance Center, Site Administrator, Tools, and README. So the first thing that what we will do is, let's go to Site Administrator. Okay, Site Administrator, something looks like this: HP, ALM, Application Lifecycle Management, and then you see an administration component. Typically, every admin, not only admin page, any software will have the username and password. So here, by default, when we were installing, we have set the username as admin and we have not set any password. But one can set a password while installing it if they want it. So right now I don't have any password for this, so I'll click on login. Now you all can see this is the actual application lifecycle management administration page. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, so now you can see there are different things, like different options, like one is site projects, lab management, site users, site connections, licenses, servers, what are the DB servers, site configurations, site analysis, and then there is a project planning and tracking options. This is pretty much what I have kind of explained what an ALM administrator will be able to do it. So let's go through the required things first, and then we will talk about what we need later. I'm just deleting an existing project so that we can have some memory, as well as I can create a new domain and new project. So before I delete this domain, I'm actually deleting the project underneath it. Otherwise, it will not allow me to delete the domain. So it says project deleted. Now I will delete this domain also. Okay. So let me create first a domain. That is the first thing that your administrator will actually do it. So click on create domain. But if you're just wondering what is a domain is all about, a domain, you can consider it to be something like this. For example, you work for a company where the company has projects on different categories, right? For example, they are into something like e-commerce, for example, where they have some online shopping applications, e-commerce applications. Suppose they have banking related applications, right? Banking, finance, right? Or they have insurance related. So different domains, these are all different domains. Suppose they have into something like enterprise resource planning, ERP related. They have some projects in customer relationship management, suppose. They have some projects on many other domains that you have. You can think of, let's say, healthcare, right? So depending on in which category that your project is going to come, your administrator will create these different domains, because we have various customers, and those customers belongs to any of those domains, and they will come up with new projects which belongs to any of these areas. So first thing is creating the domain. I would create something like actually we need to pick up one project, because that's what we generally do it throughout the discussion. So let me just see if I can access one of the projects that I have. So one is, we had one mybreakmasters.com. Some of you have done the live projects through IT eLearn. You will know these are the applications that we have. See, this is because of the security settings on my server. It's coming like this. So actually speaking, what is the purpose of a server? A server will be lying in one corner of your organization, especially in those big rooms with big hardware capacity, with a 24/7 air conditioner running it to cool it down as it gets heated. And then there will be various clients will be connected through worldwide for that server. That is the main purpose of the server, right? You all know. You might have heard about Windows server, Mac server, right? You might have heard about IBM servers. IBM is what is famous for those servers. You might have heard about things like the different purposes of the servers. That is the main purpose of a server. having big configurations, very great configurations, but it is not so user interactive. We don't access it on a regular basis, but we will install so many components on the server, those will be accessed by the clients from various places. What I did is, for training purpose, this server operating system, you can see this, it's a Windows Server 2008. For installation purpose, I took up a server, but this server I tried, actually if you see, I was continuously getting one Internet Explorer warning that your current security settings are at risk, because if I don't compromise on these settings, I cannot even access internet. So the servers will be at a very high security settings. Actually, if I fix this problem, then I cannot really connect to internet at all. That means from server you cannot directly browse anything. You can connect to the server, but you cannot really browse anything on the server. And another thing that happens on the servers is the audio will not be enabled. Audio and video things are not enabled on the server. But for training purpose, I have enabled all these things explicitly. So I kind of converted this server into the the regular laptop that we're going to use, and that's where you can see how it is coming like this. But otherwise, this site you all familiar. It comes very popularly. I mean, has a very great UI. So let me check another one. But yes, in servers and all, you will not do all these things. It will be just with a great capacity, hardware capacity, sitting in a corner, and it will help us. This is somewhat coming better, right? So yeah, probably I can pick up this one. People who are already there with me in the previous one, just bear with me, because any application is not really matter for us, but we need something to drive for creating the test cases and everything. That I'm picking up this. Okay, so if I wanted to use that project, then the domain it belongs to is something like an entertainment, or it's actually a social networking kind of stuff. Social networking. It's not really for complete networking like a Facebook or a LinkedIn or any other thing. It's just for sharing of the videos through your friends, rather than sending one link in your WhatsApp or any other thing. You will upload those videos into this howly.in website, and you will be sharing the link so that they can watch through those videos whenever they have time. That's the idea behind social networking, but it's not really the social networking like Facebook or LinkedIn or any of that. Okay, so I would just, we can actually put some other domain, maybe something like entertainment domain, because it's all about videos, entertainment. So this is what is the domain that you will be actually creating it. Right. So what I did, simple. I clicked on create domain, entered a valid domain name. If you entered invalid domain name, anything with some spaces, special characters, and all that, it will throw a proper error. So this software is tested and available for us. So you will get all those errors. Okay, I clicked on the create domain, entered the domain name, and created. Now, can you all see this entertainment domain? And you can expand that. You will see underneath it projects, you will see template projects, but there is nothing. So what I'm going to do, select that entertainment domain. You can either right click and say create project. This is one way of doing it. Or there is an option called create project here. So click on that. So who will be doing this and all for us is the administrator. You and me cannot do this one. You will not even have an access to this one. Okay. So he will create a project, and which is ready to use for us, and we'll be using it. Now when I wanted to create a project within this domain called entertainment domain, I have 4 different options. Create an empty project. This is like a fresh project. There's nothing, you can think of a scenario like this. You have got a new project and you wanted to go ahead with that. Create a project from a template. So there might be some existing templates that it will guide us, and then you can choose any of those templates and create it. Create a project by copying the data from an existing project. So this is what I was talking about. Importing projects from another QC ALM is a job of the administrator. So that's exactly what you can do here. Create a project by importing data from and exporting the data from a project. Well, this is directly you can do from one project to another. This one is you can in between you can export to Excel, and then you can import from that. So I'm going with the first option, creating an empty project. Okay. So click next. You can give a project name. So the project name is, let's say, Howley. I am not sure whether I can put a dot. So the moment I type dot, it says invalid character. The field can contain only characters, numbers, and the underscore. So what does a valid project name will accept is it contains only letters, numbers, and underscore. So since underscore is allowed, can I use Howley underscore in something like that? Okay. This is what is my project name. And here it will show the domain name that I have selected, but otherwise there are two other domains also. You can see it here. There is a default domain, there is a sample domain, but my project belongs to the one that I created, which is entertainment domain. Okay, click next. So where does, okay, fine, we kind of said that HP ALM software is for maintaining all your testing artifacts, application related artifacts, and all that, right? It is used for the complete application lifecycle management, where you can maintain all your artifacts. So the question is, where does it will store, right? So how does it will store? What is the format in which it is stored? It is going to simply store in a database. Okay, so at the end of it, all your requirements that you create, all your releases that you create, all your test cases that you create, defects that you create, everything will be inserted into a database. And whenever you wanted some data back, for example, any of your test lead is generating a report, give me number of defects generated by the team starting from 17th of April to 20th of April, let's say. You just wanted to know from the last 3 days. So what happens, ALM software will run a query on the database, and then it will pick up all the matching records, and then again it show you on the nice UI. So but in the end, what it is actually doing is it is storing in a database and picking it from the database. So then which database I can use? You can either use Oracle database or you can use MS SQL database. So HP HP can work on any of these databases, Oracle and Microsoft SQL Server. So but while installing, you can see that actually. Can you see that SQL Server Management Studio? So what I have installed is so basically if anybody wanted to, I'm touching up some of the points in between for installation, which I will be again summarizing for you at the end. First, if you remembered, the machine itself is a server. The machine itself is a Windows 2008 server. And on this server, I have installed a SQL Server also. You can see right now Management Studio, but I have actually installed the SQL Server itself. Like if you go to my add remove programs, you would be actually seeing the SQL Server 2008, right? So first I have installed Windows Server 2008. Then I have installed SQL Server on that machine, which is again precisely SQL Server 2008 R2. Sorry. So once I have those two things, that is when you are ready to install your ALM software. So I'm picking up that as my default database, MS SQL Server. And then it's asking me what is the server name. So somebody who is going to create a project, basically your administrator, he needs to be administrator on the SQL Server also. Of course, he will have that because he is the one who have installed ALM software. While installing ALM software, he will have SQL Server software, so he will be the admin for that for sure. But just a important point to note is, whoever is creating a project, he needs to be an administrator on that database also. Because when the moment we click on, we hit the project create button, it will actually create a database in the back. Within your SQL Server, it will create one new database, it will create a lot of tables, things like that. So he should be an administrator. So this is the SQL Server name, this is the user ID for the database, password for the database. Automatically they are all picking up because while installing we will be choosing what is the username for that SQL Server, what is the default password for the SQL Server and all that. Hope no questions on this screen. All that I selected is the default MS SQL Server, then user ID, password and the server name. Okay, click next. It says some of the database servers do not have the text search field enabled. After this process completes, you can enable the text search. That's fine. We don't really need that. Okay. Now it's coming into another screen where it is showing a couple of users that are part of it, including my name. It's showing that. But for now, what I will do, I'll do one thing. I'll just add my name here, Shankar. But I will be showing you how to create new people. There is an option called site users. I'll be showing you how to create new users, how to add them, and things like that. I will be adding this guy admin also to this project. So the project that we're going to create have two users, Shankar and admin. Okay, fine. Click next. This is a new screen. If you have attended my quality center previous sessions, this is a new screen which is coming up. This was not the case with quality center. So there are certain extensions that you can enable for this ALM software to use. For example, ALM dev extensions, ALM lab extensions for performance testing. Then we have something called application lifecycle intelligence, and then we have service test management. So for example, let's select the first one, ALM dev extensions. I just enable it. And then you can see the description in the bottom, what is the purpose of this and all that. So dev extensions enables a project administrator, not the individual. So we are not going to use this one, but see the description. Project administrator to perform customizations necessary for working with HP IDE connections, integrated development environment connections. What are those HP IDE connectors? HP IDE connectors are like you will be using this HP software, ALM software, for connecting to other HP softwares also. Like best example is your QTP or UFT. Suppose you have created any automation script in UFT, you can also run that from the ALM, right? Again, you can do it either of the way. You can run that script from ALM software, or you can run that script from the HP QTP software. So purpose of that is the IDE connector. HP ALM lab extensions for functional and performance testing. I kind of explained the purpose of it. It's for continuous integration, continuous deployment, where you can, where companies have daily releases, daily builds will be using this. But you can see the go through here, go through the description here. Enables ALM to provision and deploy. You see the word? So that's what is continuous integration and continuous deployment means. Continuous deploy test environments, continuous provision and deploy test environments on a private or a public cloud, and you can actually deploy that. So deploying the components could be either on an on-premise server or it could be on a cloud server, as well as to schedule and execute tests with or without user intervention. In one single word, I can summarize this whole thing is CI/CD. That's what I did it. Continuous integration, continuous deployment. So again, I'll quickly summarize people who could not grasp previously. People who have this daily releases model, they will be automated builds running, automated tests running without any user intervention. How does it go? Developers develop the code from morning to 6, and after that there is an automated build mechanism which will compile the code and then generate the build. There is another automated mechanism which will take this build and install it or deploy it on either an on-premise server or on a cloud server. And once the deployment completed, then there is an automated script, your QTP script or Selenium script, which will run it and find out whether that build is the latest build that we have deployed today is in a working condition or failed. So that you can do with this lab management component. And then there is something called application lifecycle intelligence. This is a set of capabilities, reports, and metrics providing complete ALM traceability that enables ALM stakeholders to make the informed decisions. So basically, this is for the business intelligence purpose. So people see when you are using this ALM software for many number of projects, and those projects will be dumping various data. The data is going to come in a huge amounts of data. Some projects might have thousands of test cases, hundreds of defects, hundreds of requirements on their life cycles or applications. So huge amount of data is coming. Now when the huge amount of data is coming and dumping into one server like ALM, and underneath it there is a SQL server, now somebody making intelligent reports out of it. For example, at company level, at the directors level, they wanted to see how many number of applications that we are currently running it, how many domains that we have, how many different projects under different domains, and each project is, could you please take a class for Agile? Okay, so what I will, could you take a class for Agile or Agile? What is that question, Rahat? Agile, I mean, right? If I am not wrong. AGILE. Agile is AGILE. If you are that, yes, I will be, when I am actually creating the releases and all that, I will be showing you both for a waterfall as well as for Agile. So generating the reports out of it actually is very difficult because we have huge amount of data. So this intelligent software will help us in doing all that. Then there is a service test management extension which will facilitate the extension of application components by strong management. So this is again will help us in running your UFT and other softwares. So test management softwares basically. Okay. So I'm kind of enabling. I don't know how many of them will be succeeding, but I'm just enabling. The worst case we can see many of them. That's the idea. And the ones that are disabled are for SAP ones. So if you have SAP Solution Manager and if you have these two are for SAP related ones. People who use SAP software, they will be using their UFT for automation, ALM for management, so it's related to them. Okay, click next. Since I have enabled the test management extension, it's giving me you must have an appropriate license for this. The last one that I have, service test management extension, STM, I should have a valid UFT. So I don't have UFT on this machine. Probably I will be installing it by end for showing it the integration. But for now I can click on OK. Okay. So this is all did, and then we came over here. Okay. Now you are about to create the project. So you can just read out the summary. You are about to create this new project. Project name Howley_in under the domain entertainment domain on this SQL server, and you are using these are the different extensions: ALM Dev extension, ALM Live extension, functional performance testing, and things like that. After creating the project, we wanted to be this project to be activate. So we have this check button called activate project is enabled. There is one more thing also underneath it called enabling versioning. Okay, let me just quickly talk about this. I am enabling this also. But what is the purpose of this is, I don't know how many of you are aware of this concept called version control feature. Version control mechanism. Okay, what happens in real time is, especially let's try to understand from the developer's perspective, and then we'll come back to testers. Now there are many developers working in the project from different locations, so they all need to maintain the source code. Especially what is the biggest asset of any project is a source code. You all agree with that, right? Without source code, no project exists. So the question is, how do we maintain this source code in a very central location that it is accessible for every developer? That is a first point, and it should be very secure that only authorized people can access the code, and somebody will have an access only to read the code, somebody will have an access to contribute to the code, all that kind of things. So source code, either modifying it or only reading it. Then when somebody modifies the code, finally he has to put in back into that source control so that other people can see that, right? So these kind of things typically what your developers will be doing it. But things can happen that if somebody modifies a code, let's say a new developer has modified some piece of code. Till yesterday night, the code was working very fine. There was no issues. But this new developer has modified some file, and when he tries to put in the code into the system, system will use an operation called check-in. When every new person or when everybody try to modify something and put into the system, it will use it's called an operation is called a check-in operation. And when you're trying to check in the code into the system, it will maintain the details. Who is the developer modified it? What is the date time he modified? And he should also give a business reason that why this is modified. So these are some of the important things that he has to put it. What is the purpose of putting all these things? Because let's say till yesterday the code was working fine and somebody modified some code today, and after that the script is failing, the code is failing, the project is failing. We are not able to build the project, we are not able to run the project. Then we can easily identify who is the developer that modified it, and what is the date and time, and what was the file that he modified, which file he modified, and what was the business reason. At least we can talk to that guy and see what changes he has done. If we can fix it, we can fix it. And if he also does not have any clue how to fix it, then at least what we can do is we can discard that check-in. We can remove that last check-in that he has made. So we can always go back to the safe place where we were till yesterday, right? So that's what is called version control mechanism. So if you wanted to make any changes to the software, first of all what you have to do is called, first you have to check out the source code. Check out the source code from your version control system. And then after making the changes, then you will check in the code. So these are two main operations, check out and check in. But there are so many other complicated operations also will happen on the version control system. Just to give an example. Suppose sometimes it so happens multiple people working on the same file at same time. What I will do, for example, there is one file called .cs file, let's say .NET CS file. I am the developer one, I checked out the file and then I'm making some changes. There is another developer sitting in Singapore. He also downloaded that file and started making the change. For his requirement, he made the change. For my requirement, I made the change. So we both will go try to check in. Then what the version control system will do, hey, it's a single file modified by both of them. Then it will say there is a conflict in this. And we can resolve that conflict. We can resolve the conflict by accepting both the changes. So the system, basically it's a merging of those changes. It will merge two changes and then put into the system. So that kind of complicated scenarios also your version control system can do that. Now once you understood from the developer perspective, same thing you can assume from the testing perspective. Suppose we are using this HP ALM as our version control system because I just enabled that feature, right? I enabled versioning. That's what is version control system. So when I enabled version control system for my ALM software, now every time when I am writing a new test case or when I am logging a new bug, right? I need to check in. So my name will be there. Basically my tester name will be there. Date and time will be there. And what is the reason that I am checking in that new bug or new test case or new whatever, new requirement. It will maintain that. Second thing, if somebody wanted to make any changes to that test case or a bug, again he has to first check out it from the version control system, make the changes and then check in. So typically all the test artifacts also we will be using this check out, check in process in the version control system, which I am currently enabling it from here. So any questions on the version control system? You will be seeing it practically when I check out any test case, make modifications, check in. You'll understand it much better. But otherwise, I am very fine to create the project now. I'm about to create the project. I have provided all the required information. So I'm just hitting on this create button now. What it does internally in the SQL server, it will create a new database. It will create a lot of tables and then dump the required default configurations to it. Okay, so click on create button. It takes, you can see in the bottom, it's creating the project and all that. It takes about a few minutes for creating the project. You can see the status on the bottom left. Now you can see it's creating a lot of tables. and populating some data into those tables. And it's also copying some folders from project schema to that. Your administrator need to know all these things actually. By the way, the component that I'm explaining, you will not have access in real time. You're not going to create domain. You're not going to create project. It's only for your information. Do not even talk about this in the interviews or your profile, resume, anywhere. Don't say that I created a domain and a project in ALM 11.5.2. Then immediately the interviewer will ask you a question. Were you a tester or were you a ALM administrator? Let me know if you're an ALM administrator, because we have job for that, you might say. So you're not an administrator there. Probably after certain experience on this, maybe after working for 8 years, 6 to 8 years, 10 years, you may be interested to choose the path of ALM administrator, but beginner, you will not be able to do that. Okay, you can see the confirmation. Project created successfully. In order to take advantage of new features in ALM, complete the lab management project settings located in the lab management tab. Do you want to open the lab management now? So I will be opening the lab management just to show you guys, but we will be kind of taking this in a separate session, how to do that. I told you what is the purpose of lab management. I told you like it's for this continuous integration, continuous deployment purpose. So I'm not getting into that right now, but I'll just open it. I'll say yes. Now you can see it's opening another browser automatically, and then opening this project in lab management. Again, so you can see the component name is lab management. This is a new component that got introduced in ALM. Only admin will have an access. Again, here also, not a test engineer will have an access. And you can see this component, it has all the lab settings, lab resources, performance related, and what are the different servers that are running. For now, you can just see the project name that we have created has come over here, and then the history of it, who created, that kind of an information. Okay, and what are the different host servers. So for example, what is the purpose of this host is something like, every time when my developers give the latest code and the build needs to be deployed on these servers, those host names you will add it here. Okay, and you can continuously check the health check of your system, whether it is consistently running or not, your application under test hosts. Right, so you can do some, you can enable some diagnostics also. I don't know how many of you have worked in this kind of an environment. In big companies where you will have 4 different disciplines. The one that I'm currently working, we have 4 disciplines where you have a PM role, project manager role, developer role, tester role, and then you have a separate team called support or configurations team. And this support team itself will have build team also. Build a team. These are the 4 disciplines. Project manager is to get the project, prepare the requirements and everything, developers to write the code, testers to test it. But maintaining all these servers, like you're talking about, maintaining all these application servers, enabling the diagnostics, whether they are, for example, if there is if there is an issue that occurs in any of the system, these people proactively enable the diagnostics and identify. Who will be doing all that? The support team, application support team. When any customer is facing any issue, it will be escalated through some SR, service request, and that service request is first taken care by the support team. They will have normally getting the frequent problems, and if they can resolve, they will resolve. If they cannot resolve, that is when they will come to PM dev and test, and then we will look at it in our test server. So Basically enabling the diagnostics, ensuring the server licenses, continuous check on the system health, application hosting it on the different servers. So all these things are done by the support team and within the component called lab management. Okay, so for now I'm not getting more details into the lab management. We'll definitely look at that by at least creating one or two settings, but again, who will be doing that? You as a test engineer, you are not going to do that. Okay, so we created the project in the site administrator. Any questions so far in creating the project? Sure. Rahat, what I will do when I go to the ALM software, the next thing, when I create all the requirements, defects and everything, the releases, I will be creating it for Agile only. Okay. Okay, so I created a domain and created a project. Let me move ahead. I am going into users now. I'm going to users section where I will be creating some new user. For example, I will add one of the user, let's say Rahat. Okay, I'll add the user because that's what same thing. Yes, you can practice the same. That's the idea. Instead of going for the ALM, my suggestion is go and use the QC software that I shared. Anyway, just give me another 5 minutes. I'll come back to the installation part where I can definitely tell you. But to answer your question, Syed, my suggestion is go and practice on 10.0 only rather than this latest one, because you will need a good hardware for installing all that. Okay, I'll just create one user. Please don't lose your focus. Once I will be done with this, I will be talking about installations and then what you can practice and all that. So username, I'm just giving some Rahat. I don't know full name of Rahat. I'll just say something again, Rahat only. Email, let's say Rahat at suppose he is a member of ITELearn. Let's assume I'll just create itelearn.com, and then there will be some phone number for this user. And let's assume he is a new test engineer in the ITELearn, going to help us in testing some projects, for example. So this is how when a new member joins in the team, we give his full name, we give his username. This is the username by which he will be logging in, the first one. But this is his name actually, and this is the email ID, phone number, the description. Click on OK. Now you can see a new user has been created, Rahat. And anytime if he completes a project and then he's been moved into another project and all, you can delete from here and you can add a new user and things like that. Okay, I have not added this user to the project yet. But if for example somebody leaves an organization, let's say Rajesh leaves an organization, then you can delete this user from here. Okay, so adding a new user, deleting user from here. Let me do one more thing for this user Rahat. Let me add a password so that when he goes to the ALM software, how he can log in. I'm not sure whether he will like it or not, but I'm just putting something to easy remember called 123. I'm sorry. I'm just putting some password called 1234 so that we can remember when we try to log in. Okay, click OK. So what I did, selected the user from the left panel. I'll just do it again. Selected the user from here, clicked on the password, entered the password 1234, confirm the password 1234. Okay, click OK. It says the user password is changed successfully. Now what I will do, I will add user Rahat into one of the project that we just created. How can I do that? I'll go to site projects, and you can see here there is an option called, I currently select, you can see on the left hand side the project got selected is Howlin. Go to project users. You remembered when we were creating the project, I added admin and myself, Shankar, but I will be adding Rahat now. So go to Howlin project, go to project users tab, go to add, and then say add from the users list. Okay, then you would see the users who are part of this project, not part of the project, who are part of this ALM software itself. You can see all of them here. Select Rahat also, then you have this button to add it, so add it. Now Rahat is being added, but right now if you see this project administrator checkbox is not selected. What does that mean is Rahat can only view all the information which I'm going to create in Howlin, but he cannot create any new requirement, he cannot create any new release, he cannot create any new test case, he cannot create any new artifact for that matter. But whereas administrator, who is a project administrator, you can see this checkbox is selected, and myself, you can see this checkbox is selected. We both can create everything. So how can I make Rahat also to enable that? Just enable this checkbox if you want him to do. But let's do one thing. Let's have one user as a normal user also, so that we can see the difference. Okay. So I'm making Rahat as only normal user, not a project administrator, but myself, I'm a project administrator. So this is how you add a new user and then assign it to a project. So other things what site administrator will do is you can check the lab management activities from here. Okay, this is the new component that you see here under site administrator, and who are the users in the project, and how the site connections are there, connections to the different things, and when is the license that's going to expire. Oh my God, it's going to expire on 27th. I don't know that. Oh, 27th of India time. My God. Okay, I am actually checking it. This I got it only for 30 working days. So fine. So we'll have to cover major things before. That means 27th is like 26th of. Okay. Fine. So what are the different servers available? What are the different DB servers that we have? The different site configurations available. I mean, again, it's not a big deal. Again, I have to format the system, install it, everything, which might take again 1 or 2 working days. So if there is any component that is left over, nothing to worry. I will be formatting my system, reinstalling everything, and then we'll come back. That's not a problem, but we will be dealing all the components in detail. Nothing to worry on that. And then the last one is about the project tracking and project management. So you can do that. You can just expand it. This is where you can see the project tracking and project thing. So the project got just created. Current status, it's right now enabled, the project status. And if at all you wanted to delete any, this is called purging basically. Suppose any data which is older than 120 days, you wanted to purge it, archive into system, that you can do that. And you will come to know the purpose of these calculation timings, like there is a daily calculation, starting time, calculation, reoccurrence, and all that. What is this happens is like when we go into releases, we will be putting the release starting date, ending date, whether it is a waterfall or agile model. So for example, you created a project today, then, and let's say you created a test case today or a bug today. How does the calculation start? So the calculation starts based on the project calculation starts on this one, 6 a.m. And what is purging? Purging is basically it's like kind of archiving. For example, let's say if you have a plain data as it is, suppose you have a test case with 20 steps, defect with 10 repro steps. If all that you are maintaining as it is in your quality center or ALM, it requires so much of storage, so much of memory. But if it is older than 120 days, what the system can intelligently do is it will kind of, you can kind of think of this as like your compress. Suppose your WinZip, how does it does it, right? It compresses your software. So that takes less memory, right? And when it takes less memory, you can store it more components. But next time when you open that same test case or bug, it has to expand it, basically unpurge it, and then it has to open it. So it takes a little bit of extra time. What is configuration? Which one you are looking at? Which one you are looking at, Nilima? Is it the site configuration that you are talking about, or? Okay, site configuration. Basically, internally what happens is like, if you see, we are using different sites for different components. One for lab management, one for the site administrator, one for the actual ALM. So when I browse it, you can see different URLs it is going, right? First I started with HTTP localhost QCBin. When I open siteadmin, siteadmin.jsp. When I open lab management, you can see here http://800 QCBin start.ajsp project type is equal to lab management. So those configurations of those sites, and then what is a primary repository path where it is going to store it, whether it is to be HTTP or HTTPS, all that information is going to be under site configurations. Basically managing your sites, configuring your sites. Okay. With this, I'm done with the administrator part today, where I have created a domain, created a project, created a new user, assigned a password, assigned that user to the project, and things like that. So any questions on this, the topic that we have discussed today? Otherwise, I will be spending some time in talking about installations in the next 5 minutes. But in tomorrow's session, what we're going to do majorly is the actually working with ALM software. Basically, we will be talking about, can a person with admin access customize any fields in ALM? To answer your question, yes. For that, again, you need to kind of use different plugins that are available. But yes, to answer your question precisely, yes, they can modify those fields. For example, when I go to defect, I might see some 20 fields, but in your project, in your organization, if they do not want to do it, actually they need to run some scripts. They cannot directly do that, but you need an admin access, and there are some scripts provided by the HP team. Those scripts, you need to run it in the background so that it will disable some of the fields that you don't want, enable some of the fields that you want. Frankly speaking, these are all at very precise level, the administrator part who can do it, but to answer your question, yes, who have an admin access can do that. Okay, can QC or ALM be installed on Windows 8.1? Okay, now let me come to that software installation part quickly, and then we will be continuing through the things in the next session. Okay, installations, let me, I touched upon it many times in my previous, but again, I will be covering this. You cannot install it on a Windows professional operating systems like Windows 8, 8.1, Windows 7. You cannot do that. Only thing you can do that is on a Windows server. So you need a server operating system. If you wanted to go with this 11.5.2, you need Windows 2008, but you need to download it from the HP site, the latest one, 12. If you wanted to go with 12, you need Windows Server 2012, not 2008. So you need Windows Server 2008. So first you will install Windows Server 2012 on your machine. Okay. Once you do that, next thing you need to do is install SQL Server. And the SQL Server version is 2012, R2 precisely. Okay. Then you can install your ALM software. ALM software, that is version 12, which is available on HP website, which we can directly download from that, and you can install it. So to answer your question, Sirisha, you cannot do that on 8.1, or you cannot do that on a 8 or 7 or Vista. You need a Windows Server. This is about software requirement. Okay, but even for installing all this, what is my hardware? The hardware that you need is hardware with RAM capacity minimum 8 GB. 8 GB for what? 8 GB for your ALM only. So something more than 8 GB you need. So if you see this machine, I have 16 GB. The RAM capacity is 16 GB. Something like this you need. No, for installing QC you don't require. For installation of QC, I'll tell you the simplest way. People who attended my QC, they know. So you can use the same thing. I will be talking about that. But just let me just complete about this ALM. So you need minimum of more than 8 GB, something like you need a 12 GB or 16 GB RAM. and most of your personal laptops will not have this. Okay, you will not have this 12 GB or 16 GB. So you need some better laptop, better system, maybe a personal computer where you can do that. First you have that hardware capacity of RAM 12 GB, then you install Windows Server, then you install SQL Server, then you will install ALM software. So minimum this will take about 1-2 hours, this will take about 2 hours, and this will take about 3-4 hours. No, we cannot do this on virtual machines. Again, the problem is that how can we install virtual machine and access ALM on VM? No. Up to QC you could have done that, because quality center, what happens, quality center hardly requires 4 GB RAM. 4 GB RAM is more than enough for that. And all your VMs, virtual machines, whatever you're talking about, be it Microsoft VPC, you name it, or you name it VMware, all these things will actually support 4 or 5 GB. So it's all within that, so we could have done that. But the problem with this is it requires minimum 8 GB. For 8 GB, VMs are not a good option. You cannot actually do that. So you need the physical machine itself. You cannot really. Can you see this? Actually, I don't have any VM concept. This is my physical machine, and this is my computer, and this is my properties of it, which is Windows Server 2008. So it's a big, I would not say it's a difficult or not possible. Otherwise, I would have not done it and show it to you guys. You need a lot of patience. First thing is you need the hardware with this configuration. To explicitly say, I have rented this, actually I have hired this for a temporary purpose, this desktop from a local vendor for your training purpose. So because I would not have it on my personal computer 16 GB and all, so I rented it. Something like that, you need to have a better configuration of hardware, and then you will install all these things. It will take about 1 or 2 days. If you sit on it, like this will take about 2 hours, this will take about 2 hours, and this will take about 3 to 4 hours. And we never get such a time continuously, so I had to spend a good amount of time doing this. Is it clear? I'm not scaring you guys. I'm telling you that reality. But once you have the hardware, let me tell you, it's easy to install software, not a big deal. So to avoid all this, what my suggestion is, I have QC 10 software, which you can install it on, which you can do it on your VM, which you can all do it on your laptops. What you can do, be it your 8 or 8.1 or 7 or whatever it is, I have, if you go through my quality center videos, especially go through video or day number 4. So day 4 video, which will completely cover how you can configure this QC10 on your personal laptop. In that, what will you doing is, you will be first creating a VM on your system, and in that virtual machine you will be I already installed the QC10 installed, and then I created a VHD called virtual hard disk .vhd virtual hard disk, so that you can just load into that virtual machine. Then you are good to use 10.0. Today, whatever I have explained in administrator, except this lab management, everything was there in 10.0 also. Okay, so my suggestion is, do that, practice on that, rather than trying installing and wasting your time, because you are not going to install in real time. Real time administrator will install, you just use it. So don't waste your time in installing this and all that. So go with 10.0, it will be easy for you, and it's just a virtual hard disk that you can load and just watch video. I cannot say anything more about it now, because it's about 30-40 minutes of video that I created with all the documents and everything. Just watch that day 4 video of my quality center. You will get to know how to install this QC10 on your machine. Then there is no expiry. That's another good part of it. There is no expiry date for that. For 10.0, there is no expiry date. All that you need to do is, you need to change your system time, to back, something like 2007 or 2008. Just change it, then it works. Okay. So that's why my suggestion is go with, for practice purpose, use 10.0, but all live sessions I will be dealing with ALM. Okay, is that fine? You guys have any questions related to installation? I'm happy to take about. I'll stop this recording because it's already 90 minutes. It's a huge